Hello everyone and welcome back to the Belgian Beer Brothers channel. Cedric here in Antwerp with yet another brew review, and today we are revisiting an old one. That is to say, we are gonna have a new old version. This will all make sense in a second. Today we are having Duivelsbier Wild by Brewery Boon, the very same one that makes the Boon. But we've had Duivelsbier, the dark one, a while ago, and in 2024 they actually brought out this. This is Duivelsbier Wild. This is a version of that same Duivelsbier, but fermented with a brettanomyces yeast. Brettanomyces, of course, known for its wild character, the lambic yeast. And I say this is a new version, but technically this is closer to the original version that was brewed in the 1880s. So yeah, they've gone full circle and they thought, why not experiment? They took that time to rebrand the beer as well. And the original Duivelsbier that used to have that yellow pale crest for a label got the same label as this one has, but in red. So now we have a red and a green one. And for the duivel in the Duivelsbier, they made a new mascot. They called him Mon, short for demon. But honestly, I think they totally looked at Lucy from Disenchanted. If you don't know that, just go on Netflix, check out Disenchanted, thank me later. I actually like this label. Yeah, I love the color, as you guys know. I love the serenity. I like the idea of using the same color in different tints to distinguish parts of the label. And when we look at the back, Duivelsbier made with wild brettanomyces yeast. The wild yeast enables the beer to age over time in the bottle. Feel free to either preserve this bottle for years to come or let the devil tempt you today. Yeah, guess what? Now this does have a very long shelf life, because I think this is a bottle from early this year or late last year, and it is best before February 2030. So another 5 years. And knowing Boon, you could keep it after that as well. What else does this bottle say? Brewed with water, malted barley, hops and yeast. And that is basically it. So let's have a taste. Lovely branded bottle cap with the same demon on it. Of course, being wild and re-fermenting in a bottle makes this very active. Look at that huge amount of swirl in the glass. Downright beautiful. And talking about beautiful, this has a lovely orangey, coppery, golden color. It's actually like golden blonde, but with a coppery shine to it. Very nice. A lot of carbonation, and if you look closely, this head of foam, which is still growing by the way, is divided in two parts. It has the very tiny bubbles, that nice dense creamy foam that we want on the bottom, because that is where all of the fresh bubbles arrive. And from the pouring, which was wilder than expected, we have some larger bubbles, and these tiny bubbles are pushing out the large bubbles, making this grow over time. Lovely color, and the foam as well is a nice clear beige. So actually everything I would expect of this beer. Very nice. I get, of course, a lot of that brettanomyces, and that is a typical scent that you get in younger lambic beers, in Orval, for example. Also quite a bit of acidity, but those go hand in hand. Same goes for the lambics, and same goes for Orval, which is the most acidic or the most sour Trappist that we have. Despite being so active, not too much carbon dioxide in the scent. And I do get a hint of that sweet and sour idea, a tiny hint of I don't want to say sugar, but some sweetness, whether it's sugary or malty. We'll have to check for that in the flavor. Okay, let's have a taste. Cheers! Yeah, that is nice. First thing I notice, if anyone loves Orval, you are gonna love this, and I am thinking about getting myself a crate of these and aging them to see if it does the same to this as time does to Orval. But we are not here to compare, we are here to judge this beer in itself. Now, in the flavor, I don't get that hint of sweetness that I have in the scent. So it's not sugary at all. It's not really malty either. It has a very nice mouthfeel. It is not too thin, not too watery, and despite being so heavily carbonated, it is still very, very pleasant, which is a nice surprise. Flavor wise, like I said, no sweetness. I do get that typical brettanomyces, that bread taste, which is rather full and dark, may I say. I don't have synesthesia, but for some reason I compare flavors with colors and tints. Yeah, it is a very heavy and dark flavor, rather dry, slightly sour. And different than lambics, for example, this has quite a bit of bitterness in there as well. So this is actually, it has an acidic undertone, but it is actually a nice dry bitter beer. And I think it only has 6.5% ABV, 6.3 even. Yeah, very nice. Nice and light. And this is actually a segment that we don't see very often, that spontaneous fermentation or that wild yeast, because it's not spontaneous anymore these days. Fun fact actually, they cultivated a brettanomyces strain from some of their oldest barrels, from some of their oldest foeders. So this is pretty close to the original, because Boon actually has foeders and barrels that are well over 100 years old. So the bottle here says 1883, which is the the origins of this beer, and they may just have cultivated a yeast strain from around that time. Yeah, lovely. Funny thing is that the after flavor is very, very weird, very interesting, very complex, because in the aftertaste you still get that bitterness. That dryness is way more than in the initial flavor. So the aftertaste is slightly bitter, is very dry, and the acidity flows, mellows out. But you do get a lot of carbon dioxide, a lot of hoppiness, and a bit of maltiness in the aftertaste that you don't have in the initial flavor. So this beer is so complex and so interesting. Even if you're not a fan, you still have to acknowledge that this is really, really interesting. And I think this is one of those beers that I would love to give in a tasting class, for example, because I think this is a great beer to practice on. Okay. The verdict, I think this is a decent contender in the wild beers or spontaneous fermentation segment, or the brettanomyces segment. Why? Because of course this is brewed by the family Boon, and those are I don't know anyone that understands brettanomyces yeast better than them, so it's not a surprise that this is awesome. Despite finding this very interesting, very complex, and pretty awesome, I'm not gonna give this a 4 because it's not my cup of tea too much. But I am gonna give this a 3.75. Yeah, because this will never be my go-to beer, but it is so beautiful. Maybe after recording this, I might bump it up to a 4. But yeah, somewhere in that range, a 3.75. Let's make it a 4 because 3.75 is actually too close to the standard 3.5 for a beer as great as this. Okay, that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. As usual, if you want to share this video or support this channel in another way, visit the Patreon page. And yeah, if you have any questions, remarks, leave them down in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Until then, I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.